Distinguished Minister Dong Jun, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, friends, good morning. As the Chinese poem goes, the best time of the year worth remembering is when tangerines are green and oranges golden. In this beautiful season of fragrance and harvest, the 12th Beijing Xiangshan Forum formally convenes. Official representatives, experts, and scholars from more than 100 countries, regions, and international organizations have gathered here in Beijing for this grand event for peace. On behalf of the organizers of the forum, the China Association for Military Science, and the China Institute for International Strategic Studies, I would like to extend my warm welcome and hearty gratitude to all the guests coming to Beijing and to Chinese Defence Minister Admiral Dong Jun for attending the forum. At the ceremony commemorating the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against the Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War on September the 3rd, President Xi Jinping pointed out that humanity rises and falls together. Only when all countries and nations treat each other as equals, coexist in peace, and support each other, can we uphold common security, eradicate the root cause of war, and prevent the recurrence of historical tragedies. Presently, the century-defining transformation is accelerating, with notable increase in factors of instability, uncertainty, and unpredictability. Facing unprecedented global challenges, China has successfully put forward the concept of a community with a shared future for humanity. The Global Development Initiative, the Global Security Initiative, the Global Civilizations Initiative, and the Global Governance Initiative, demonstrating China's determination and confidence in safeguarding world peace and development with all countries through extensive consultation and joint contribution for shared benefits. As an important platform for countries, large and small, to participate equally in global security governance, this forum, themed Upholding International Order and Promoting Peaceful Development, aims to create conditions for all delegates to have equal, open, inclusive, and mutually beneficial dialogues. We hope that we all engage each other in rewarding discussions on major international security issues, so as to make intellectual contribution to and foster greater synergy for building an equitable and fair global governance system. Now, let's welcome Admiral Dong Jun, the Chinese Minister of National Defense, to deliver the keynote speech. Welcome.
Dear guests, colleagues and friends, good morning. It gives me great pleasure to join you here in the golden season of autumn for the 12th Beijing Xiangshan Forum. On behalf of the Ministry of National Defense of the People's Republic of China, I would like to extend a hearty welcome to old friends and new friends coming to China for this rendezvous of peace. We look forward to fostering greater consensus and strength for the theme, upholding international order and promoting peaceful development. Dear guests, colleagues, and friends, this year we commemorate the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War, and of the founding of the UN. As we honor the past so as to build a better future together, President Xi Jinping formally put forward the Global Governance Initiative, or the GGI. Together with the Global Development Initiative, the Global Security Initiative, and the Global Civilizations Initiative, the GGI is another Chinese solution proposed by President Xi Jinping to meet global challenges and solve difficult problems facing the world. China hosted grand commemorative events to highlight the truth that justice will prevail, peace will prevail, and the people will prevail. The events demonstrate China's firm commitment to peaceful development and strong capability in safeguarding world peace and tranquility. China will continue to make intellectual and material contributions for jointly building a brighter future for human society. Standing at a new historical juncture, China will work together with more partners and friends with shared values to broaden the time-honored path featuring peace, development, and win-win cooperation. Follow the logic of historical progress and move forward along the trend of our times. The Chinese military is ready to engage with all parties to have open discussions on global security and explore solutions to realize enduring stability so as to build a world of lasting peace and universal security. In this vein, I would like to share 4 points. First, upholding historical justice. History carries the past and inspires the future. Though the World War ended 80 years ago, its indelible historical lesson constantly reminds us that we must have a correct perception of World War II history and firmly stand on the right side of history so as to defend the outcome of human progress and pull strength to carry on. We need to bear in mind historical lessons. The catastrophic World War taught the international community a painful lesson. Since then, people across the world have remained highly vigilant against the root causes of war, such as hegemonic expansion, racial superiority, and contempt for international order. The world today is undergoing century-defining changes. peace and development remain the underlying trend of the times. Our world is overshadowed by Cold War mentality, hegemonism, and protectionism. Worse still, the legacy of World War II has been used as a geopolitical tool by some countries, posing new threats and challenges to global peace. We must keep in mind historical lessons, see through disguised hegemonic logic and bullying acts and stand against them, and make utmost efforts to safeguard peace and justice.
تلاش پیوسته داشته باشیم برای حفظ صلح و امنیت.
In commemoration of the September 18th incident, air raid alarms will be sounded across China today to remind people that lessons of the past should not be forgotten and tragedies must not be repeated. We need to follow the prevailing trend of the times. Facing greater risks and challenges, it is more important for us to have a keen understanding of historical laws and head towards the right direction. Over the past 8 decades, people around the world have risen to challenges and made relentless efforts to fight for peace and strive for development. Though there are obstacles and setbacks from time to time, the call for peace, development, and cooperation has grown louder, and the global South has grown stronger. This has fostered an unstoppable force, moving the wheel of history forward. Greater resolve and confidence, and collective wisdom and strength to achieve peaceful and harmonious coexistence, to help nations in disputes or even in wars find a way back to peace, and to bring the countercurrents against globalization back to the mainstream of global progression. We need to build synergy for progress. The key to winning the victory of the world's anti-fascist war is solidarity for justice that transcends different social systems, ideologies, cultures, and religions. Today, the world is standing at another crossroads. Peace or war, dialogue or confrontation, win-win or zero-sum. We must make the just and right choice. We need to build the widest consensus and unite the will and strength of the greatest majority to steer history towards the right direction. The military is a pillar for defending peace and justice. As we stand up front between war and peace and face the test of blood and fire, it is more important for us to remember history, follow the right path, and pursue solidarity and cooperation. The Chinese military stands ready to work with all parties to serve as a force for global peace, stability, and Second, reforming and improving global governance system. Our world is in a new period of turbulence and transformation, with growing deficit in global governance. It is therefore highly relevant for President Xi Jinping to put forward the GGI, guiding efforts in reforming and improving global governance. Military security and defense cooperation play significant roles in global governance. The Chinese military is willing to make joint contributions with our counterparts to building a more equitable global governance system. For us in uniform, 4 things are critical. We must ensure sovereign equality, the cornerstone of global governance. Behaviors such as external military interference, seeking sphere of influence, and coercing others into taking sides run counter to the principle of sovereign equality and will plunge the international community into chaos and conflicts. We need to follow the trend of our times, respect the development paths and security concerns of other countries, increase the representation and say of developing countries in international affairs, and accommodate the interests of the majority of countries in a more balanced manner. The military is responsible for providing strategic support for national sovereignty. As we defend our own sovereignty, we must also respect sovereign rights and interests of other countries. We must defend the post-war order. In the past 80 years, it is the UN-centered international system that established widely recognized norms and principles and provided for overall peace in the world. When we advocate reforming and improving global governance system, we do not intend to overturn the existing order or to create a new one. Rather, the goal is to reinforce the cornerstone and pillars of the system. The restoration of Taiwan to China is an integral part of the post-war international order. The historical and legal fact that Taiwan is part of China is indisputable. The People's Liberation Army is always a strong force defending national reunification. We will never allow any separatist attempts for Taiwan independence to succeed, and we are ready to thwart any external military interference at all times. Regarding the South China Sea, China is working together with other regional countries to deliver on the Declaration on the Code of Parties in the South China Sea and expedite consultations on the Code of Conduct. There has been a greater consensus and synergy for peace and development in the region. The so-called freedom of navigation championed by some outside countries and the so-called international arbitration propagated by certain claimant nations challenge the basic norms governing international relations. China takes lawful measures to protect our territorial sovereignty and maritime rights and interests, and to uphold the post-war order and international rule of law. We must support multilateralism. Unprecedented changes in the world will inevitably lead to multipolarity. However, we must stay sober-minded, as the obsession with absolute superiority in military strength and the obsession with the might is right approach will ultimately lead to a divided world defined by disorder and jungle law. China believes countries are interdependent, advocates building an equal and orderly multipolar world, and practices true multilateralism. We advocate that countries should handle international affairs through consultation and participate in global governance together. Such features as joint contribution, shared benefits, peaceful coexistence, and common prosperity are what we expect from a multipolar world. We must protect common interests. The ultimate objective of reforming and improving global governance is to enhance human well-being. In a world of growing security risks, the role of military security has become more prominent. Military power directly supports the maintenance of peace and security, and military cooperation can have positive impact on cooperation in other areas and bolster mutual trust. Seeking peace and security for all. The Chinese military is ready to join hands with all parties to support and defend common development and security, and to bring the benefits of global governance to everyone.
Third, safeguarding peace and righteousness. To cherish and safeguard peace is where the mission and the value of armed forces lies. In today's changing and turbulent world, the military strategies we adopt, the roles we put on our armed forces, and the defense relations we build with others will determine whether we have a future of peace or war. We need to advocate the vision of peace. Only when military strategies are made to promote peace can we avoid conflict and wars in the first place. A military strategy based on strength, containment, and deterrence is zero-sum by nature. It will only increase hostility and eventually backfire. China stays committed to peaceful development. Our military strategy is well aligned with our nation's development strategy. We build our military to safeguard national sovereignty, security, and development interests. In our opinion, exerting pressure, coercion, or resort to force should be avoided in interacting with other countries and resolving international disputes. Instead, we need to have dialogues to manage disagreements and bridge differences. so as to eliminate the root causes of conflict and confrontation. We need to serve as the ballast for peace. To save humanity from the scourge of war is in the preamble of the UN Charter. Till today, this vision of lasting peace still faces realistic challenges. People who have suffered from invasion, bullying, and oppression abhor the use of armed forces as an accomplice of hegemonism or a tool of abusing force. They hope militaries can do more to prevent wars and conflicts. As a force for peace, the stronger the Chinese military becomes, the greater our capability to restrain war and preserve world peace and development. The Chinese side is willing to work with all peace-loving forces to resolutely safeguard the victorious outcomes of World War II and the post-war international order, help other militaries to enhance their capabilities to protect their legitimate rights and interests, and shoulder the historical responsibility of maintaining world peace. We need to build friendship for peace. Sound and stable mil-to-mil relations are an important guarantee for world peace. Military alliances and political blocs are small, exclusive groups that serve hegemonic and selfish interests. Internationally, countries in these blocs view others as either friend or foe, and internally they carve up interests together. To maintain legitimacy, they have to create opponents and keep fueling division and exporting chaos. We must stay highly vigilant against and oppose such moves. China believes in partnership rather than alliance. We are open to have as many friends as possible and work together to build a new type of security partnership. We advocate to diffuse security risks through solidarity and collaboration, and address security challenges through equality and mutual benefit, so as to make positive contributions to lasting peace and stability in the world. Fourth, consolidating peace through real actions. The noble cause of peace and development for humanity calls for shared commitment from all nations. In an era fraught with challenges, cooperation is our best option and the only way to achieve lasting peace. To this end, I'd like to make 4 proposals. First, continue to deepen military mutual trust. Over the years, the Chinese military has built trust and enhanced cooperation with militaries of other countries, and effectively safeguarded our shared interests. The Chinese side will continue to follow the principle of promoting solidarity and mutual trust, ensuring common security for all, and seeking common ground while shelving differences. We will strengthen the synergy of security strategies with other parties, enhance defense exchanges at all levels, and reach more bilateral and multilateral defense cooperation agreements, so as to lay a solid foundation for higher-level security cooperation. Second, strengthen multilateral coordination. As both contributors to and beneficiaries of multilateralism, we need to better align our policies and actions under the UN framework. The Chinese side will contribute more to UN undertakings for peace, including building a high-quality peacekeeping standby force and launching the Technology Empowerment Initiative to help improve the efficiency of UN peacekeeping. We should jointly develop and share multilateral platforms and create more opportunities for all countries to participate in security governance on an equal footing. The Chinese side will continue to host the Beijing Xiangshan Forum, China-Africa Forum on Peace and Security, and the China-Latin American and the Caribbean States Defense Forum, and make them platforms that accommodate interests of all parties. Third, improve the quality and efficiency of cooperation. To safeguard global strategic passages and maritime security, we will carry out cooperation in escort missions, counter-terrorism, and peacekeeping operations, and conduct joint exercises such as Exercise Peace Mission to enhance interoperability with other militaries. The Chinese military has a comprehensive system on training of international students. We are willing to share our experience with all parties to cultivate talent and deepen friendship. We welcome foreign militaries to send personnel to China for training and exchanges. Fourth, build better cooperation mechanisms. Facing multiple security challenges, we need to have robust cooperation mechanisms. Due to the lack of international rules, there are growing risks in emerging areas such as AI, space, and the deep sea, making it more necessary to fill the gap. The Chinese military will engage with all parties to have extensive consultation and build consensus, further enrich exchange mechanisms and improve security frameworks across the board, and foster better coordination among different mechanisms and pool collective wisdom. Together, we can provide stronger support to the reform and improvement of global governance system. Distinguished guests, dear colleagues and friends, a just journey with many companions gets far. The PLA will work with militaries around the world to march forward toward the right direction and contribute more to the building of a community with a shared future for humanity and safeguarding world peace. Thank you. Minister Dong Jun, thank you for your wonderful speech. Just now, in his keynote speech, Minister Dong Jun emphasized that the Chinese military is willing to work with all militaries to firmly defend historical justice, improve the global governance system, follow the just path of peace, and jointly ensure security for all with concrete actions. In the following 2 days, we will hold 4 plenary sessions to discuss major issues such as global security governance, Asia-Pacific security cooperation, safeguarding international order, and building regional peace. We hope you can plunge yourself into the discussions, engage each other with insights, and contribute more to the forum. This concludes the opening ceremony. We are now taking a short break. Please do not leave your seats. And the first plenary session will begin shortly. Thank you.
尊敬的各位来宾，全体会议即将开始，请您尽快就座，并将手机等通讯设备置于静音状态。谢谢配合。Distinguished guests, the plenary session will soon start. Please be seated and set your mobile phones and other communication devices to silent mode. Thank you for your cooperation. 尊敬的各位来宾，全体会议即将开始，请您尽快就座，并将手机等通讯设备置于静音状态。谢谢配合。Distinguished guests, the plenary session will soon start. Please be seated and set your mobile phones and other communication devices to silent mode. Thank you for your cooperation. 尊敬的各位来宾，全体会议即将开始，请您尽快就座，并将手机等通讯设备置于静音状态，谢谢配合。Distinguished guests, the plenary session will soon start. Please be seated and set your mobile phones and other communication devices to silent mode. Thank you for your cooperation. 现在有请军事科学院科技委副主任常伟少将主持第一次全体会议。Now, let's invite Major General Chang Wei, Deputy Director, Committee of Science and Technology, PLA Academy of Military Sciences, China, to preside over the first plenary session.
Your Excellency Admiral Dong Jun, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, now the first plenary session is in order. At present, the world is undergoing profound changes unseen in a century. Geopolitical conflicts flare up one after another. The jungle law is resurging. Non-traditional security threats are intervened. The UN and multilateralism face setbacks, and the global security governance system encounters unprecedented challenges. Recently, China put forward the Global Governance Initiative, which aims at answering the question of what kind of global governance system should we build and how to reform and improve global governance. The initiative is aimed at upholding the purposes and principles of the UN Charter and practice the vision of extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefit, and promote a fairer and more equitable global governance system as we work towards the goal of building a community with a shared future for mankind. This plenary session is themed Building a Just and Equitable Global Security Governance System. We aim at pooling global wisdom and strength, and building consensus and exploring practical approaches to address security dilemmas and guide the global security governance system toward greater fairness and equity. This plenary session has 4 parts. First, keynote speeches by the panelists. And second, a question and answer segment where the audience may pose questions to the panelists. And third, comments and remarks from distinguished guests in the audience. And finally, responses from the panelists to the questions collected. And now, it's my great honor to introduce the 6 distinguished speakers on the stage. They are Mr. Hong Lei, Assistant Foreign Minister of the People's Republic of China. General Pan Wen Giang, Minister of National Defense of Vietnam. Major General Donaciano Galsta Gomes, Minister of Defense of Timor-Leste. Ms. Anna Tsivilayeva, State Secretary and Deputy Minister of Defense of Russia. Ms. Sandra Lazo, Minister of National Defense of Uruguay. And Mr. Gao Kim Horn, Secretary General of ASEAN. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to all our speakers. And may I first give the floor to Assistant Foreign Minister of the People's Republic of China, Mr. Hong Lei.
Your Excellency Minister Dong Jun, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to join you in this golden autumn season at the Beijing Xiangshan Forum and have exchanges on reforming and improving global security governance and working for a community with a shared future for humanity. This year marks the 80th anniversary of the victory of the World Anti-Fascist War and the founding of the UN. At this historic juncture of taking stock of the past and envisioning the future, President Xi Jinping solemnly proposed the Global Governance Initiative, which sets out the principle, the approach and pathway for global governance, reform and improvement. The core concepts of the GGI include adhering to sovereign equality, abiding by international law, practicing multilateralism, advocating the people-centered approach, and focusing on taking real actions. The GGI is another global public good that China has contributed to the world following the Global Development Initiative, the Global Security Initiative, and the Global Civilization Initiative. The four global initiatives have different focuses, but are mutually compatible. From the perspective of development, security, civilization, and governance, respectively, these initiatives have injected stability and certainty into the world and showcased China's sense of responsibility and real actions on international affairs. Peace and security is the top priority of global governance. 2 weeks ago, China held a grand military parade to mark the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War. President Xi Jinping delivered an important speech in which he emphasized that humanity rises and falls together, and that only when all countries and nations treat each other as equals, coexist in peace, and support each other can we uphold common security, eradicate the root cause of war, and prevent the recurrence of historical tragedies. As the world enters a new period of turbulence and transformation, the international landscape is fraught with changes and disorder. With growing divides across the world, continual escalation of regional conflicts, and ever-emerging non-traditional security challenges. Deficiencies in global security governance are becoming more evident. Hegemonic and bullying acts in particular have inflicted profound harm and dealt serious blows to multilateral mechanisms such as the UN. Today, humanity is once again facing a choice between peace and war, dialogue and confrontation, win-win results and zero-sum game. Now more than ever before, the world needs to reform and improve security governance. Faced with increasingly severe challenges, China has not sat idly by. In 2022, President Xi Jinping proposed the GSI, the Global Security Initiative. Since then, China, guided by the GSI, has been actively working for closer international security cooperation